What is up, folks? NYKF31 here, NBA Live, NBA Live 18. Got a nice bit of sample size with it. It's been out for, a few weeks now. Both NBA Live and NBA 2K. Some people like one, some people like the other, some people like both. And, that's the way it should be, really. Uh, you have a couple of good basketball games to play. If you're being triggered over these games, one way or the other, you're completely missing the point, in my opinion. You have a couple of good games. They both have their quirks and idiosyncrasies and common video game flaws. They both have things that they do very well, and they both have different ways of going about what they're trying to do. You just see here, I am playing the Toronto Raptors, and I'm going up against the Washington Wizards. I'm playing on default All-Star 5-minute quarters. Just nice and quick, get in, get out. That's the way I've been playing all my games against the CPU. I've played a wide variety of matchups. The game has had a patch come out since it's been out. That's par for the course now. It also changed from demo to release. A couple of things have changed. Let me touch on those first and begin there. One thing that I noticed is that they increased the game speed. They increased the game speed, and I'm not quite sure how I feel about that. I've always felt that the tempo of NBA Live 16, 15, and NBA Live 18, the demo version was really good. I thought that the tempo was on point and felt close to how the tempo of an NBA game would be. I always felt that the 2K game played too fast and that guys were just flying all over the court all the time. So the tempo is something I always really liked about NBA Live, but I think the game now is playing a tick too fast. I don't want to play NBA 2K Live, and I'll talk about this a little bit more when I talk about PES and FIFA. As you see, I get a size mismatch there, a size and quickness mismatch with Kyle Lowry against Gortat. I just completely break him down. That's done really, really well in this game. But yeah, I don't mind games borrowing ideas off of each other as long as they're good ones. I mean, who cares where a feature set comes from or a control mechanic comes from as long as it works and it does a job. I don't care about those things at all. But also, I want them to keep the things that make them distinct and separate from each other. Be the best NBA Live that you can be. And then it just comes down to personal preference as far as what you like. Now, along with a tick in game speed, and thankfully you can turn the game speed back down with the game speed slider. But again, another breakdown and a floater there by Mr. Lowry. But also something else I noticed from demo to release is that your user control is hijacked in some situations now that weren't in the demo. I don't know if it's related to the increase in game speed, but I don't feel like user control, more so on defense, is as tight and responsive as it was. Going up from manual contests, being able to go from intense D modifier to just normal analog control. I find myself being drawn into shooters and drawn into screeners every now and then, which I don't like. That needs to go away. One of the great strengths of what Live is trying to do is they're trying to, and I think they're doing a pretty good job of it in general, they're trying to break away from two-man sequences where you're drawn into interactions with people and the animation sequence has to play out. There's not a damn thing you can do about it. Now, since the patch, that's gotten closer to what it was at the demo, but I felt like in the demo, I wasn't having that problem near as much. Now, here you see John Wall breaking me down and delivering a dunk. The CPU, they look to attack the paint with a freaking vengeance, boy. Let me tell you, good, spacing there on the driving kick. But the CPU, they what I see happening is that they go through their sets. They'll run guys off of screens and cuts and whatnot, but their first response is to get to the paint at every opportunity that they can. I'll show you the shot chart of this game when it's done. You'll see that you can get the computer to shoot jumpers. They'll shoot jumpers. They shoot their long jumpers more on transition and off of second chance opportunities, either deflections, rebounds, blocks, kickouts, double teams. But as far as working for a mid-range or a three-point shot in the half court, that's spotty. Even when you're playing the Warriors, a guy like Kevin Durant, he's going to look to assault the paint like a fiend. Steph Curry, he's going to get most of his jumpers off of dribble step backs. And I was talking about this on Twitter with Prime. I mean, Prime is basically NBA Live's version of Sam Fam. He knows this game inside and out. It's to see John Wall gets the three-pointer off the double team on in the post. But in talking to Prime, I was talking about this with him, and basically the game is governed by the synergy data. If you're not familiar with how that works, what synergy does is that it constantly updates the team's play tendencies based off of real life NBA game data throughout the season, and they do that pretty much every day or every couple of days. And when it starts kicking in, it does a really marvelous job. But the downside to that is that right now there are no synergy updates going on because there is no data. And as a result, you have this tendency for everybody to just want to march into the paint with reckless abandon, which leads to a lot of blocks. There's way too many blocks in this game. Way too many blocks. I try to do a self-alley oop and I fail. And the reason for the blocks is pretty logical. You have all these assaults into the paint. The way to balance that on their end is to have the shot blocking tendencies all jacked up. Otherwise, shooting percentages would be just sky high. But the question that I have is that, okay, if you're going to have a synergy system, which is great once the regular season starts to kick in, why not just import last season's synergy data into the game until then? Now, again, according to Prime, that's what they did, but it's not playing out right. And again, updates are in the works to address that. So, again, in this patch world, we just have to see as we continue to have games released, not finished. As Bradley Beal just goes berserk there. So, those are the main negatives. Oh, the post game. The post game, they need to decide what they want to be as far as the post up game is concerned. The post game ain't good. And post entry passes are a bit of an adventure at times. You don't know whether or not you're able to get the ball into a guy when a defender is fronting him. It just seems like, okay, maybe you will, maybe you won't. Good card off the double team there. I mean, that's the great thing about this game. The spacing, the flow is really, really good. The controls, the analog controls on offense are outstanding. Second to none in my opinion. The controls in the post, not so good. And the controls on defense, I felt they were better in the demo. I feel like there's now more automation going on defense. You see another block there because, again, if the CPU has any opening at all, they're going into the paint, period. So those are the negatives. And from what I've learned, those negatives as far as how the CPU is playing is going to be ironed out. And otherwise, the game is really fun to play. I have a blast playing this game. It is really, really fun. I think NBA Live did their job this year. I think they put out a game that's relevant, and I think once they clean up some of those issues I spoke about, especially with the CPU offense via updates, you got a game that I think will hold people's interest and give them a viable alternative to play if they don't want to play NBA 2K or they want to play both and just kind of want to go back and forth. And plus, you have the Pro-Am stuff, which is done pretty well also. That's not really my thing, but that's a viable offering also. And that's why I just am perplexed by people that just catch feelings about these games. Personally, I don't feel like there's a bad choice here with these two games. If you like basketball, pick one. Understand that they're both going to have flaws. All these games are going to have video game flaws that video games have that don't seem to ever go away because they're not real. They're virtual toys. You obviously want developers to work as hard as they can in addressing the legacy flaws that they can fix, but there's going to be stuff that they just can't do. There's no grand conspiracy where these devs have this secret copy of the game that plays perfect that they're withholding from the public. That's just stupid. But yeah, here's a shot chart here. You see the assault at the rim with some jumpers sprinkled in here and there, but it needs to be more. So there you go. Hope you guys enjoyed. Love to hear your guys' thoughts. Talk to you all later. Peace.